Hey guys, Brandon here. I'm bringing you a video today a little bit out of my normal realm, but I decided to pick up a game called This Land Is My Land. It just came out into early access, and you know, I'm not typically one of those kind of people that likes to jump into early access games, and I'll probably touch up on why in this game. It's kind of a good example as to why I don't typically do it, but I decided to buy it because it looked interesting. You're a Native American and you were trying to fight back ownership of your land. I am loving first person shooters. I've always loved first person shooter games. I always gravitate towards them. This is a third person, but still it's the shooter aspect. I love it. So I wanted to pick up this game, give it a good try. Let's just jump right in and I'll give you my overall broad idea of how this game is so far. And then let's talk a little bit about development and how this game can progress and a general idea of what you're supposed to do in this game. Like the video, comment below with your thoughts if you're playing it or if you're thinking about it, if you're following it on Steam. You can play it now in early access and subscribe to the channel. So right off the bat, I really enjoy the overall broad spectrum of what this game is bringing. I really loved Red Dead Redemption 2, played so much of that game, and even not talking about the campaign of that game, just the overall riding around, enjoying the mechanics of finding people, fighting people, and just doing whatever the heck you want. This game has similar mechanics to that in the sense of it is very open world. You get to ride around and enjoy that, but there is a very harsh punishment if you're not paying attention to where you are, where you're going, and there's definitely a steep learning curve in the very beginning as to the survival basics. You can run into bears and wolves very quickly. You can run into roaming bands of the whites and they will kill you very quickly. There's a lot of aspects that are very punishing early on in the game that force you to learn how to cope and fight them very quickly. The fighting mechanics are very wonky. Again, it's very early access. I think I'll kind of touch up on my thoughts of that later on in the video. It's very early in the development when it comes to those mechanics. There's a lot where a clear line of sight is between a guy and myself. I fire my bow and you can see the arrow being stuck in the air where it's not connecting with that guy. So there's clearly some issues. I do like the overall mechanics of once you draw your weapon, you've kind of wait for it to zoom in before you fire. Otherwise, your accuracy is going to be off. I like the skill system, being able to choose the different trees. The mechanics of finding wolves and bears out in the wild was kind of cool. They definitely need some tinkering. The overall way that they moved was a little bit wonky, but again, early access, I'll give it a little bit of a pass on that regard. Riding around on the horse was very fun. I noticed that even jumping off the smallest of rocks, I took damage. Even when I'm off the horse, I took damage. I think they're a little bit more punishing on that system than they need to be. And after quite a few jumps down rocks and such with my horse, I actually killed my horse. I like that. I like that aspect of punishment. If you're going a little bit too off-roading with your horse, you're being too traumatic on it, it will hurt it. Much like other games that don't do that, you can pretty much scale any mountain and take your horse wherever and it just survives. This one actually punishes you for doing that, and I really like that. You can send your camps out to gather resources, to attack other camps and such, and that's kind of a cool concept in the game. You can free other Native Americans from other camps in the areas, which bolsters your own camp. You can bring in horses. You can find other camps around you and resalvage your land. There will be a progress bar that shows how much of your land you have reclaimed. In the options menu, there is crafting. One of my biggest things about the game that's kind of a negative is in this regards, and that is the wood. You have to go and find and scavenge all the trees around you in order to get wood, which is a basic component that you're going to be using in this game to craft almost anything. And instead of being able to craft a hatchet that I can then turn around and go chop down a tree, you have to go out and actually manually pick up the wood which is just so aggravating. And I think it really takes away from the overall dynamics of the game and kind of knocks it down a peg for me. If they're not developing already some kind of a pickaxe and an axe for me that I can chop down a tree or take on rocks, they are really missing out on that. I mean, pretty much any of these survival games that you go out and play, Ark would be the main one that pops into your head. That's one of the first things you do. Again, the fighting mechanics, they're really fun. I think that they're really in the basics of it. As long as you haven't been noticed yet and you get up close to somebody, you're going to do a one-hit kill on them. If they notice you, then that takes it into a mechanic where you have to actually fight them, which is going to give them health, and then you've got to, they'll hit you back every once in a while. It's very brutal. The first time I came across a patrol, there was 4 or 5 guys on horses. I tried to fire at one of them. They instantaneously knew exactly where I was, rode up on horses, and immediately blew me away. It was kind of a humbling experience to have that happen to you. The game definitely punishes you for those decisions. I think they punished you a little bit too much, especially seeing as I shot with a bow and arrow and not a gun. With a bow and arrow, I feel like maybe they should have kind of known the rough area that I was at, but until they spotted me, maybe they wouldn't have been able to kill me. But regardless, still kind of cool. I like the fact that I was punished for that decision. It makes me want to do more stealth missions and kind of stay away from those roaming parties, the patrols, until I'm able to set traps and better engage with them. Again, the overall idea of this game is that you are trying to take back your land. You are trying to build your forces and reclaim what has been stolen from you. I really like that concept. You start back with nothing. You're going to die a lot. Each time you die, you will go back to one of your camps, one of your locations, and you have no inventory, so you have to start fresh. There is a skill tree that as you accomplish certain feats and such, you will get points that you can then turn around and buy skills. I really like that progression system. Again, I think that the overall crafting system needs some tinkering. I think the overall survival system needs some tinkering. These skills would be one area that, although I have not had such a huge amount of time to mess around with, right off the bat, I really like it. And that brings me to the last thing I just wanted to talk about, which is this is an early access game. I don't really like to jump into early access games all that much, even though it's harder and harder not to, seeing as a lot of the games, a good percentage of games that are released nowadays are released under this guise of an early access game. I think it's a cop-out. I don't know. I was raised during a time where you just pretty much bought a game once it was released, and whatever you bought was what you got. Now there are rolling patches for games. I mean, it's really unheard of to see a game that is released without some kind of future patches. So I get the whole fact that early access is just a way of saying that you're kind of buying into a game in development. This is definitely one of the ones that I bought jumping out on a limb because it looked good, and I still, again, am having a lot of fun with this game. I like the way they're going with it, and I really hope that they make the changes that need to be made for this game so that it can really turn into something great. If you are liking Red Dead Redemption 2, I know it was just ported over to the PC, but console people have had a long time to be able to play this. If you are a fan of that series, you should enjoy this game. I believe they have a lot going for them right now, and that if they take this the right way, this game could be huge. It is a steep buy-in at $40 for a game that is early access, and again, typically I would not have done this, but it did look really good, and so far I'm all right with it, as long as they continue to develop this game and not just drop the ball on it. That's my thoughts so far. Leave your comments below on what you're thinking about this game, and maybe you haven't bought it yet. What's your kind of anticipation for? Is it moving forward? Again, like the video, comment down below, and subscribe. Thanks.